running, never bothered about what could be coming. Every day we danced and life was smiling. We were young and drunk in love.
Hello, people! I should have been live about 4 minutes ago, but I don't know why. The Miss Flapper Instagram wouldn't let me in. I wasn't liked. How are you all? I haven't seen you since before Christmas, so Happy New Year, everyone. We are back with the visibility column. And this week, we've got a really special guest, and I can see her online now. So I'm going to invite her first. And then, no, actually, I think you need to ask me to be live. It doesn't let me. Let me see. No, I have no requests. I'm going to invite you. We've got a very... I keep talking about visibility and how you can be more visible in your business. There she is. Hello. I couldn't see you. I could see. It's a tragedy today, technology. I don't know with it. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I give you Liz from Biddis Lifestyle Design. Liz is an interior designer, and today with her, we're going to be talking about how designing your own commercial space properly can help your visibility. Now, do you want to tell us a little bit about you before we start?
Oh my goodness, yeah, okay, I can do. Where do I start? So I've been in the industry for over 17 years. I've worked globally with international brands throughout the UK, America, Asia, the Middle East, all over Europe. Been very, very fortunate to work with some big high-profile retailers. And then about 3.5 years ago, I decided to start my own business so I could help smaller independents, which is where my passion lies, make them visible and afford, people to be able to afford my skill set and what I can offer. So since then, it's been a really great roller coaster to sort of put myself out there and build up my client base doing what I love best.
Nice. So, as you know, this column is about visibility, and what I do, I chat to my guests about how their expertise can help visibility and what's their views around people boosting the visibility of their business, etc., etc. Now, obviously, we've been talking about a lot of things in the previous episodes, and we're going to talk about branding and how you can bring your branding out in one of the future episodes. But with you, we're going to talk about space. I think that especially in the last 18 months, working from home, we all realized how important it actually is to have a space for your work, for your business. And even if you're working from home, it's important to have a space that is just business. But obviously, we're going to talk about actual space, actual offices, actual shops, actual commercial spaces. Now, how important this is from a visibility point of view. What makes a difference? What can actually tip the scales on whether people decide to work with you or not based on your space?
Absolutely. I have a big thing about, if I'm going to spend my money anywhere, I want to be comfortable to go in, and I want the space to reflect the quality of service that I expect. I do that in my own life, and I know I'm not the only person that does that. We all do it subconsciously, actually, when we're making those decisions, whether it's walking down a high street or choosing an accountant. And if you have a public facing office space, whether that's the bit behind you actually right now, you know, I'm very at the moment where I'm sat, if it doesn't reflect your business and what you do and the quality of your business, why are people going to buy from you? You know, that to me is the fundamental part of why you'd have, you know, someone like myself look at your commercial space. And you know, sorry, go on.
Yeah, I've been to one of your talks recently, and I really liked you presented about different jobs you did in relation to space and use of space for your brand, etc., etc. And there was one in particular, which was a jeweler, and you brought in a lot of their history, not just as a jeweler, but from where they come from, and I think that's a really important thing, because
well, I mean,
branding doesn't particularly say anything about Italy, but in reality, everyone I work with knows that I'm Italian, isn't it? So
absolutely. That particular project was a jewellery shop in southeast London, and they had a really, really interesting story to tell. Their unique selling point was fantastic. And what I do as part of my job is I look at not just, you know, let's look at the space you've got and make it pretty to attract your customer. It's like every business owner or anyone that works in business, especially like marketing, you all talk about your business core values and, you know, how do you want people to portray you? What are you passionate about? You know, what's your company's why? And, you know, you go through sort of your ideal client, and what you need to do is have your space represent what I call the 4 branding pillars. And the jewelry shop we did in East Dulwich, the family were from Transylvania. They had a history of mining precious gemstones going back through the family history. And when they first engaged with us, they just said, oh, can you take us to some antique shops and we'll just pick some furniture that looks nice together. And when we sort of dig deeper into, you know, their family and what they wanted and why the company was the company name, what they chose, we drew all of this out of them. And part of what they did was they took pre-loved gemstone jewelry and they, which, you know, old settings people don't like in this sort of, you know, day and age, and they took those pieces of jewelry and they reset it into something that was more modern and that would give it a unique lease of life. So the whole business was about reusing, recycling, sustainability. So what we did is we designed the shop interior following all of the things that they told us. So we designed all the fixtures around the boutique, where if anyone's familiar with mining and gemstone mining, you know, have the panning tables. So we designed a piece of furniture that represented the panning tables using reclaimed railway sleepers as the material and reclaimed glass. I think the only thing that we actually used new there was probably some toughened glass because we needed that for security and locks. But everything else in the shop we made out of recycled timber. We made a old style jeweler's workstation. So we did the research to look at how that would have looked from years ago and how we could have done that. We went to an antique market and bought an old architect's drafting board and converted that into a cash desk. And, you know, we did all of that for a really, really quite a small budget in the grand scheme of things. And it just, now it's a gemstone on the high street and you're just completely drawn to it.
And I think it's an important, wherever they go, they're going to be recognized for it, because there might be some other people that do the same thing that they do. So they reclaim old gemstones and make them into new pieces of work, or, you know, there might be other people that come from the same place as them, but there will never be the same kind of shop, isn't it?
Absolutely. We did have one extravagant purchase there actually. we found an old, I think it was on eBay, some crazy, an old mining cart, and we actually had it shipped over from Transylvania, sprayed down, all the rust come off, spray painted black, put a glass top on it, and we turned it into a coffee table. Well, actually, like a high up coffee table. But yeah, no, they are unique at what they do. Most jewelry shops, you think of a jewelry shop, and you think of like Tiffany, and the windows are small, and you look in, and it makes the jewelry feel expensive, and and it's all beauty. That's all well and good, and it suits their brand. But what suits this brand is their story and why they do what they do. And part of my job is to bring that out for people.
Yeah.
Clients tend to have the idea of what they want, but they just can't sort of pull it all together. So a big part of what we do is we listen to what people like, we listen to what they've got, and we translate that into a 3D environment.
Yeah. And so obviously people are going to be watching this and they're going to be thinking, yes, but I don't have the money for this. There are a lot of ways that people can actually find little bits that they can do themselves. It's obvious that no one with no experience is ever going to be able to pull off a full shop. But, and I'm not for 1 minute suggesting that anyone tries, but in terms of the spaces we already have, and maybe if we need if we feel like our office is a bit blunt, or it's just an office that we rent, but it's got nothing to do with us, and we're not ready to actually invest in someone like you, what would you say are the things that could help make us transform a place into something that's a bit more ours? And obviously that reflects not the personal taste, but the branding, because one thing is I like empty spaces. The other thing is if I get clients in, they have to sit somewhere. So whether I like it or not, I'm going to need a coffee table, and I'm going to need...
That's the biggest thing I see is when I'm talking to clients, they talk about what they like, and actually it's got nothing to do with what you like. Yes, you're going to see it every day, but it's not what your client likes. It's the person that you're trying to please, and you're not pleasing yourself. You're pleasing the person that is going to pay, for your service or your product. And that is, I think, the biggest thing that you need to look at and be really quite discerning about when you're making choices. Is that it's not about personal taste at the end of the day. I think if you're not happy with the space that you've got, you just got to take a step back and first of all look at what you can do with what you've got. It could be, for an office, it could be as simple as remodeling the desks, moving them around. I kind of feel that when you walk into an office environment, depending on the type of office, like if it's a solicitor's company, you want to walk in and you want to feel secure. So you want to make sure that, you don't have stacks of paper lying around. That's my big thing. Like, I want to walk in, I want to see a tidy office, so you can do stuff like that. As simple as tidying up can actually really enhance your space and give people the illusion that you're probably better than you are sometimes. So that's really important. I want to walk into a space and know where I am. So if you're in a bit of a soulless retail shop, could you put some company branding in there? Could you put some graphics in there? Very cheap. It doesn't have to be expensive. If you've got an office, could you put in, could you cover a wall in a graphic? I'm not saying you've got to go in and stick your logo on the wall, but if you're a company that maybe likes, does travel insurance, could you do something a little bit more quirky around, a graphic that represents travel or, something like that. You want people to walk in there and straight away understand your price point and understand the level of customer service they're going to get from you and feel safe, feel like they're going to part with their cash. That's the biggest thing. The same to be said now, a lot of people are still doing Zoom calls. If you're sat having a really important Zoom call and you're trying to get someone to part with, £10,000, they don't want to see your laundry behind you. They want to see, something that still represents, what you do. I keep mine really neutral because I just think, I don't know what I do. I've got a little sort of sign there, but otherwise I keep mine pretty neutral. But again, you know, if you're selling candles, for argument's sake, let's see some product behind you. You know, don't overcrowd it. If you're selling a candle for 15-20 pound a pop, you know, make it look, you know, like it would in a shop. You know, a couple out, 3 out, 5 out, not 10 out behind you. And that again, you know, will give people the illusion of grandeur and, you know, level of
things that can be on brand without being produced by you, isn't it? I got the example in front of me just because it's where I work, and this, which you gave me,
I did.
Everyone who sees this thinks that it's made by me, and it's like to match the branding that I've got behind me. But it's not made by me. No. But
it's not made by, I've just got a really good seller.
but it fits in with my messaging, it fits in with the energy of my branding. So it's obvious that you don't have to like not like what you've got around you, but as I agree, it is about it's as if I showed up in leggings and gym gear when I'm doing sessions with my client. It's definitely not on brand.
Absolutely. Everyone thinks that, you know, when you start looking at your company branding, straight away you go to a graphic designer to get your logo done, you go to your photographer to get your headshots done and all that's, you know, brand photography, and you go to a website design, did I say website? Yeah, website designer to get your website done, and sort of for a lot of people, like that's where branding like starts and finishes. You know, it's like, oh, I've done everything I need. But no, like interior branding is just as important as those other things. And it's, you know, if you have anywhere that a client is going to go and see, it needs to look its best.
Yeah.
You know, that's the bottom.
Yeah, and so if obviously we talked about people who don't think they have the budget, but what about people who think they have the budget? Because sometimes I think people think they do have the budget and then they realize that actually the budget they thought about doesn't quite cover it. And this I think happens in every profession, obviously, but when it comes to putting together a space, there's obviously something you can't, you know, if you need chairs, you know, and the choice is you buy £2 chairs or you buy £200 chairs, but you still need chairs. So when someone is planning something, what are the steps? How do you go through deciding how much you need as opposed to how much you think you're going to spend?
That's a really, really tricky question. If for argument's sake you're opening a retail store, there are things to take into consideration. Do you need sprinklers and all that sort of stuff? Restaurant, do you need toilets, or is there already toilets? You know, so you need to sort of work all of that out. And once you know then how much you're dealing with, then it's easier to sort of put a price to it. I don't like to spend money unnecessarily. I think don't always buy cheap, because, you know, the famous saying, buy cheap, buy twice. But there are quality products that you can buy which don't have to cost the earth. You know, interior design is often perceived as quite a luxury, quite a high ticket expense for a business or for homeowners. But my job is to look at the money you have and allocate accordingly. So if someone says to me, I've got a budget of 20 grand to open this shop, then I go, well, what do we need? So we know, say we don't need sprinklers, we don't need this, and then we go, right, we need a floor, we need this. So then you allocate money accordingly, and you then specify accordingly to what you need. Fixtures don't have to be expensive, you know, furniture doesn't have to be expensive, but to get the most out of your money is to spend money with a professional, because we go to places and get things at a better price for you. Our job is to save you money, so it saves you time, it saves you money, and advise on quality. And I think depending on how you project your business being for the next however many years, how long you want something, then again that can contribute towards the decisions you make.
Yeah. And finally, if so, any top tips that are good for anyone who doesn't know what kind of space they need? So say I am looking for my first actual physical office or shop or anything, any space, a physical space to run my business from, whether it's product or it's services. Any tips about things that we want to look for if we want to not having to spend a fortune to redo it in the end?
So, big thing in retail is don't pick a shop that's got a massive shop front, because the rent is often worked out on the size of your shop front. So if you notice there's a lot of shops on the high street, particularly like sport shops, they just have like a door and a tiny window, and then you go in and it's absolutely massive, and that's because the rent's cheap. They haven't got a big shop front. So that's something to consider. If you don't have a big budget, make sure you've got all the facilities there. So toilet facility, anything you're going to need to look after your staff, really, really important. If they're all in good working order, that's going to save you money. A lot of people don't realise that when you go into a space, if you've got to start putting toilets in and refurbishing, that sort of thing, they're big ticket items. I would avoid anywhere with sprinklers, because I keep on harping on, really, really costly.
I didn't know
that. Negotiate with your landlord. I've been to quite a few meetings with clients when they're looking at spaces, and facing the landlord, to ask these questions, because it's really, really important. Things to bear in mind if you're going to do any sort of fit out of I think it's any space actually. Putting up walls particularly, you need to get building control involved. So that's a cost of £1,000, potentially £1,000 plus. Bear in mind how long things take. This isn't a quick, easy fix if you're doing something quite sizable with signage, or if you need planning. The average planning application pre-COVID was 10 weeks from submitting. With COVID, it's taking longer. So if you think I'm going to open a shop and I want it open by, Easter, right now, you're not going to be open, because it's too late if you want to do any planning application.
You don't have it. I agree.
It's not going to happen this Easter, maybe next Easter. No, but they're the things you have to bear in mind. You have a lot of legal obligations, and I think people who are opening spaces for the first time need to get their head around that. I think that's would be my top tips, really. I think the biggest thing to remember is you have the idea of what you want inside you, and it's someone like me that's going to draw that idea out of you. Don't let somebody dictate what you should have.
Yeah, I think that's a really important thing, because you get people saying, oh, my friend has got, I don't know, I sell crystals and my friend sells crystals, and her shop is like that, so my shop has to be like that. But it's not true, isn't it? And this is the reason why there is not only one provider of the same products in the world, because we all like different things. You mentioned Tiffany's. I might love Tiffany's, but one of my sisters doesn't, and we're part of the same family, but still we have completely different ideas of what a nice piece of jewelry is. So really, it is what it is. So in terms of finding you, if anyone wants to find you, if anyone wants to have a chat, if they have any questions, if they're watching the video and they're thinking, oh, I need some guidance on my space, where do they find you?
So you can best engaging with me on Instagram at biddis.lifestyle_design, or you can find my website www.biddislifestyle.com. I offer a no obligation chat looking at bigger projects, but I also have a really cool package which is a power hour for business owners who have the space, go, oh, it's not working, or I want to make a change, or a colour consultation. I do a power hour for £150, and we you send over your thoughts, pictures, videos, whatever you want to talk about up front, and we sit and we do a live workshop session, work through your idea together, and at the end of it we've made decisions and we do a report, so you can then be on your way to sort of implement those changes. I love chatting.
It's a really nice cost-effective way of doing things, isn't it? Because people just get like a map of how to do it and what to do and how to do it, and they just get on with it, isn't it?
Yeah, you might just decide, oh, I'm missing something, I'm not sure what it is, or you might go, oh, I've got this idea but I'm not sure if it's the right thing, and you know, you bring that to the table and we work through the idea, and then you take something tangible away with you, so you can either run with it yourself or then go, actually, could you do this for me, and then we can pick that up and take it on for you.
Fabulous. Listen, thank you very much for all of these tips and opening our eyes around many things, really. There are a lot of things that people don't think about, or they don't think it's part of the branding, as you said, and instead it's a very big thing, or at least for me it is, and I think it's for everyone. Because it's the whole experience, isn't it, you get when you get into a space. So thank you very much. And as you all know, that this video is going to go on all social media channels of Miss Flappers, on our YouTube, so it's going to be available in a couple of days everywhere, and I will see you, Liz, very soon. And I will see you people all, I think, next month. Without my diary, I can't remember. So have you all a fantastic evening, and Happy New Year again to all, and I'll see you very soon. Bye.
We were young and we were free and running, never bothered about what could be.